Welcome everybody to yet another live interview show for Become a Fearless Father. And this is another special day. Let's call it a special day. I think it's a special day because we have a unicum again, something new, something we haven't done yet. We have a stepdad on, and I thought that was awesome. This guy is awesome. What he's doing is amazing, and we're going to talk about all those things and more. Chad, welcome. Thanks, man, for being on. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Klaas. Man, this is interesting because I don't feel like I'm the perfect stepdad or anything. I don't even think I'm just getting to average maybe. So this is like a new. Okay, so background, I've been single, haven't had any kids or anything my whole life. And then I meet the love of my life and she has kids. And she didn't have custody of any of her kids for the longest time. And then we started getting her son over for a weekend here and there. And then it became, 2 weeks. And then it was like, maybe we, he liked it here and maybe we should do this like a longer term thing. And, hello. All right. So somebody's coming in the room. I don't know who that is, but it was really cool. And so 1 second, let me make sure this doesn't work. And I'm really loud. So that's being said, it became a ease on in, and I'm like learning to have a relationship with somebody that's kind of already semi-grown. I think he's 12 now, about to be 13, and it's somebody that I haven't raised.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a say in the upbringing or anything of where he came from. And he came from, he was living with his grandma, which we've had our differences and different things. I'm not going to talk about it.
No,
so, yeah. And so that's so it's just a really interesting situation, and it's learning to balance and become, one of the things that we're big on is integrity and communication, and that's a new thing for him. I don't think anybody really took him like seriously, like he could really handle things. And I think we hold him like he's almost like an adult, because he has his things that he needs to do, and he gets, we've switched this now to, so this is like we want to raise him as a successful person, and at least give him the option of the choice of being an entrepreneur or not. I will say the kid is like a hustler, and he will not take no for an answer. That's one of the things I really, really, really love about him. And I feel like that's like something that I don't have to instill in him, because he has that, right? And I'm trying to get him to go sell door to door or something, get him some candy and get him out there and start selling. But because that's where you can learn so much. But it's a really new experience trying to take somebody that didn't have the structure, wasn't held to their word, wasn't held to doing what they needed to do, and then putting those things in place. So we started with paying him for his chores, right? Paying him, and then if he misses, he says he's going to do something, but he doesn't. We pulled back and take money away, and then it became like he didn't care because he was getting paid, and or he got paid on Friday and then he wouldn't care over the weekend. And it was like dealing with all these challenges too. And now we've got him like down. He's really good about doing his chores and really just making things happen. And, you know, he's came a long way from that. And then now we've kind of stepped back and we said, okay, now how do we get him into the mindset stuff, into the personal development, into the, you know, at least empower him to make a choice if he wants to be an entrepreneur, like give him the choice of what he wants to do. And so what actually we interviewed, because we have a podcast too, it's called Influencer Profits, and we interview amazing entrepreneurs, experts, people that are really making a difference out in the world. And one of our like people that we kind of watch from, like, I guess mentored from afar, Rhonda and Brian Swan, they have an amazing life. They actually are nomadic, and they've been nomadic for, well, they were nomadic for like 6 years or so, 6 or 7 years, where they would go for 3 months and live in, you know, Easter Islands, Costa Rica, Panama, all these different places, Thailand, Bali. But then they found that they really love Bali, so they just live in Bali now. And I think they've been living there 3 or 4 years, something like that, full time. And it's such a cool thing. But one of the things they raised their daughter to be a rock star. She's 11 and she's a fashion designer. She's a speaker, international speaker. She had a Mind Valley in Indonesia, like fly her out and speak at their thing. And one of the things that Rhonda said when we interviewed her and Brian, was not what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be now? You don't need to wait to grow up. Like they would have waited till she grew up to be what she wanted to be, she wouldn't be making 6 figures as a speaker and a fashion designer. I love it.
Yeah.
Wow. I think she just had a birthday. But yeah, so it's amazing to see it's not about that. So what can we empower him to do now? What can we give him? And taking him out of the, like, you have to be an adult to have a thing, right? There's so many entrepreneurial kids these days that, you know, they start businesses at like 13, or they are running, you know, there's like, I saw this like company, this kid, he's like the CEO and founder of his company, and it's doing all these things at like 15 and like all this amazing stuff. And it's like, how can we empower him to at least choose? Because we don't want to really force him down a path, but how do we like give him the power to choose his path?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, man, that's a great question to ask. What do you want to be now? I mean, I'm always about, because as people, we are so accustomed to when our kids come home, it's like, how was your day, right? It's such a closed question, but with a question like, what do you want to be now? Or I love this question. I got this from Andy Stork. He said, what can you teach me today? You learned it from somebody else, but still, that's such a powerful question as well, right? And I think in the end, if we learn to ask such powerful questions to our young kids, they will benefit immensely. As you mentioned, like now, not when they're like 18 or 20 or 24. So, and I won't be so humble saying that you're average stepdad. I think it's always the people that are humble and thinking like, I'm average now. How can I grow and become, world class? Those are the amazing fathers.
Well, this isn't the normal thing. I'm usually not very humble in my other skill sets, but like I've seen the challenges that I've had, like even adapting to the idea of like even being that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, because I've always had, well, kind of back up, I'd punted personal relationships for like 10 years. into the sense of not just a relationship with a woman, not just a relationship with friends, but relationship with like anyone, like my family. Like I didn't have a relationship with my mom. I didn't have a relationship with my sister. I didn't have a relationship with, I didn't have a, like, I dated girls every once in a while. We would go out and they'd be shallow, whatever, but there was never anything deeper for 10 years or so. And I remember, it might have been actually longer than that, but I remember, since my wife, and going and having that connection with her and like learning to actually love someone, which is freaking weird for me because I didn't have that. That was just like, I didn't have, I don't know if I had that capability. I didn't know if I had any of that. And so, in like a year of breakthroughs of like learning how to actually love someone and actually have a relationship that was on a deeper level. And so we did a personal development course called Landmark Education. It was life-changing. It really, it allowed us to have a relationship, allowed me to create a relationship with my mom and recreate a relationship with my sister, and even be open to the idea of having a relationship with, a kid. And like even the idea of having kids like that's just very, very new. And so it's very interesting of the transformation that I've had and went through. So I just wanted to kind of give that a shout out. But kind of where was I going with that? So now we're really trying to instill these positive thinking and being your word. And so we had we had him, his name's Caden, and we had him reading some books, and we pay him to read some books a while, and then he kind of gave resistance to that, and I authentically gave up for a while and didn't want to, and really had to just work on him just being in his word. And I feel like he's really got that really well. And then so now it's like the next step, and where can we go now? And so we actually enrolled him into, have you ever heard of Caleb Maddox?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Caleb Maddox has a personal development course for kids and a bunch of books and all this stuff. And so we bought that for him, and then we bought the upsell, which was like a $97, like how to basically create a successful kid. So it's more for the parents. And so we're going through those, and it's really good stuff. A lot of like really heavy on the gotta be happy or gotta be like positive, which we're not a huge fan on, because I feel like, just faking it to be positive, just to fake it to be positive isn't really healthy. But I think it's definitely, obviously you got to start somewhere, right? And if at least he's getting the idea of like how to focus in a positive direction and how to turn that around and how to, be motivated and how to have that energy, like you have to get started somewhere, right? And so, and in the way that Caleb's dad, Matt, did it and got him started was he would pay him to read books. And so that's what we've kind of started now, is we've given him, we basically told him, we'll give you $10 for every book that you read. And he doesn't like to write, which I get. So what we're doing is having him basically explain the book to his mom.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we'll give him extra money if he actually does a video.
Oh, cool.
And record it and record the rundown of what the book, because give him the opportunity. Like he was a streamer, gaming. He games a lot. And that's whatever, and he's learning whatever skills there. There's a lot of people making a bunch of money streaming games and doing that stuff, and he's starting to get like a good following, and for some reason he fell off, and that's fine, no big deal. Like now he doesn't want to be like on video, and it's just like you really have to just like there's like a flow of like you don't want to push them in one direction or the other, but just hold them to what they say that they're going to do to you, like for you, or whatever their, that integrity. And it's really just, and then cleaning up if it doesn't work out that way. And that's one of the things we learned with Landmark is just so powerful. It's that integrity and that being your word and all this stuff is just so important for life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I actually like that because I've been following Caleb and Matt for a while now, and I've heard them mention several times, like, hey, I at the beginning used to pay Caleb for reading a book, and of course he had to make like a summary or book report. Yeah, book report. Thank you. So the fact that you guys are creative enough to say, look, he doesn't like to write, which honestly I don't like to write either, right? But I love this. I love camera. And then you're saying like, look, why don't you just, give a little presentation? Just talk to us, tell it to us. And if you film it, then, we pay some extra. I love it. That's absolutely brilliant. I've written it down because it might be something that I'm going to implement later on as well. I've been thinking about getting Caleb's course because I think the kid's absolutely amazing. But my kids are still so young. They're 3 and 5. 3 and 5.
5 is on its way, right? Like you got... boy or girl?
Both boys, but their main language is Spanish. So we're heavy on teaching them English as well. I got a whole system set up for that. However, everything has its time. So I'm giving him a little bit more time. I'm waiting till he's 7. And then we're going to do some nice stuff on the English part as well. So,
well, if you're speaking English and you like at that age, it's so much easier for them to learn than to really you almost don't want to like wait until they're older because then they get like in these stuck things. If you teach it to them early, if like kids that grow up in which I'm sure you guys are bilingual, you're speaking English and 3. So yeah, so they're gonna just pick up all the languages.
Yeah. They understand all 3. So they understand Spanish, Dutch, and English, and then they speak a little bit of English, also the little one. And then Spanish, of course, is going really well. Not as well as the other kids, which is funny. It's always discussion with the teachers, but we'll not go into that. Look, man, you said something else. Like you've always struggled with relationships, and then now you're married. What are some of the things that you've learned that you highly recommend other husbands do to make sure that they have a great marriage or a working marriage or a successful marriage, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah, it's all about creating agreements, like mutual agreements on each side, right? So me and Holly have I would say 5 or 6 like really just static agreements. One is to be loving all the time, right? And it's not, this is the thing, so like you're not always going to be loving, but this is the thing. And so and this is just stuff that we learned from Landmark, is that if you break an agreement, then you just need to clean up, right? Because most of your relationship issues are because of an incompletion or a like some sort of so an incompletion. Essentially it's an incomplete conversation. There's one side of the conversation or one side of the relationship is needed to say something and they haven't, and it's gone unsaid, and so now it's created this like awkwardness, and it anywhere from awkward to like complete wild like disdain, hate, like everything. Like if there's somebody in your relationship that you don't talk to, that you don't have a relationship, it's most likely because you have some sort of incomplete conversation with that person, right? And it's just an unresolved thing, and so that just needs to get cleaned up. And usually it comes down to there's something that one side, or really both, is not taking responsibility for. Right. So the big thing is, and just, I'll teach you guys how to clean up real quick. And this is, I'm just giving all the credit to Landmark, so they don't sue me or whatever, but it's, it's really just comes down to taking responsibility for what your part in the breakdown is. Right. And it could be that you had some sort of expectations that they should be some sort of way, but they weren't. Or maybe you should have communicated something and you didn't, or whatever the thing was, right? Because they have these unsaid like rules, like in a relationship, but they get broken and nobody ever fixes it, right? Or there's no ever any resolve. And so getting or taking responsibility and then getting the impacts of whatever you did, of the other person. So what are the impacts for you that I did, so Klaas, say I was late for this interview. I'd be like, so Klaas, I had an agreement to be here at 1 Eastern time. And the impact is you're running late and now we're moving into your next appointment, or whatever your impacts are in that. And the next thing is just getting all those impacts. And then the next thing is putting something in place that is going to keep that from happening again. So it could be like, all right, I'm going to put this in my calendar, plus I'm going to put a timer, to give me a notification, 30 minutes, an hour, 24 hours ahead of time, so I don't forget your interview. Right? And so that would be just a way of cleaning up that situation. So that just now that I feel that okay, so now you have these agreements. So our agreements is to be loving. And so if one of us is not loving, which constantly getting broken, but it just happens, and we just clean it up and we get the impacts of the other person of not being loving. Communication. So if something happens and and so having an agreement to communicate like everything, right? And so it's like, we have a conversation about because we have a business, we help people that are impact driven, entrepreneurs, coaches, people that are looking to launch their programs, their courses, their coaching, that type of stuff, and attract those clients. So if I talk to a client and I agreed to a meeting, but I didn't communicate with her or put it in the calendar or whatever, that's a breakdown in our communication, and that needs to get cleaned up, right? If I agree that I'm going to go to the gym, my friend asked me to go to the gym at 4 on Thursday, and I either put that in the calendar, communicate that with her, then that's communicated. Like, over communication is so important in a relationship, because it just creates it doesn't create any unknowns. Everything is out in the open. You're not hiding in these two different lives. You have a fluid relationship. Right? So communication, what's the other one? Loving, honoring. So honoring is a different one, is like really just honoring the other person and being, honoring. So that's another one. What's another one is not to make each other wrong. So basically if you did something and I'm just belittling you for doing that thing or being that way, it's making you wrong, and it's also not being loving and probably not honoring too. So it like kind of hits them all. But like basically we work under an agreement that we are who we are, and obviously there's breakdowns and things that happen, and that we really ultimately need to accept the other person for what they're going through, and then we can help them kind of have that breakthrough through that challenges, the challenges that the other person's happening. But it's really it's up to them to look at that thing, right? And so how do we navigate that with being loving and honoring and all of that? And that's just it's a constant what's those like those things that you walk across in the circus and you're not falling, tightrope. So it's a constant tightrope, and you're constantly balancing these things, but it's like it just really works when it can all be. And obviously putting all these things in place into a marriage and just like it would be freaking chaos. Where like you just pick your agreements, what the agreements are, and just work through them as you can.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I like that. I like that, especially because that way you have something to fall back on. Plus, if you did, exactly like, okay, yeah, I was in the wrong this time, or how to, as you mentioned, how to clean it up, which is great. What's one of the ways you clean something up? Like, is that just communication, or can that be a gift, or taking her out to dinner? How does that work?
It's really just that formula of acknowledging that it was you have your responsibility. So you have a responsibility in this. What is the impact for you, and what are we putting in place so it doesn't happen again?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, another thing is, and this is another thing that a lot of people don't realize, is if somebody is constantly bringing something up from the past, it's because there's an incompletion in the origination of that time. And so you might think somebody's nagging constantly about this one thing because they keep on bringing it up. But the thing is they're just not complete on that conversation. So there's some sort of conversation whenever that originated, because there'll be like always an originating moment for that conversation. So if she says, like, if she's always living in the thing of you're always being sneaky, or you're like, why are you doing this or that, but you're not, like, there's no reality to actually base in that. She's living in a conversation, in a story of something that happened a long time ago that's never been complete.
Yeah. All right. So how would you go about solving that? Because that's something great that you mentioned, because you just mentioned, like, you're on a journey of change, right? And what I've noticed a lot is that a lot of people then still see you as who you were 6 months ago or a year ago, not knowing that I can look at myself, but I can look at you. The last 6 months, I mean, I wasn't the same person, heck, 3 months ago. I'm going so fast, right? So yeah, I'm really interested in knowing then, like, how what's the best way for me then to communicate in such a way that gets resolved, and
so what happens is you have to go back to the originating moment, the originating conversation, the fight that never got resolved back then, right? There was some sort of fight, there's some sort of breakdown back whenever that originating moment. So what you have to do is you have to ask her or him or whatever, when was the first time that you remember like that, like feeling of me being, or whatever you're bringing up, right? Whatever they keep bringing up. Like, when was that first time? And so what you got to do is you got to go back to that conversation and then accept responsibility for your part in whatever happened in that conversation that caused her or him or whatever to live in this constant conversation for the last whatever. And then get all the impacts and then put something in place so that never happens again.
Yeah, and I'm writing, people. I keep forgetting to say, but I'm writing. I'll take some notes on this. Impact and then in place. All right, that makes sense. So yeah, if you get that down, if you get that whole system down as you have, if you can call it a system, at a certain point, I mean, you turn that into habit, right? That's nice. You see, I like systems and habits. They help me out a lot, and they make me move forward really fast. So I appreciate you sharing that. So I'm always interested, man, because my coach was saying, like, any person that's in a relationship, they must set up a date night, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what's your philosophy on that, and what are some what's your philosophy on date night?
Yeah, so we used to have a date day or date day and date night. Now we do date night. And then kind of every night before bed, we usually watch like a show and just kind of cuddle. So, but on Fridays, we spend, the whole night together, and a lot of times we'll go out to eat or we'll go to the movies. We went and saw Endgame, which was awesome.
Don't talk about it.
I won't. Get your tissues ready, and I don't know how you avoided spoilers. Like, that's just ridiculous. You need to go see it. But yeah, so 2 weeks ago we went and did that. Last week we went to a restaurant and grabbed a hamburger and just hung out, and then we came back and we watched a few shows and just kind of cuddled. So it's so important to just be especially because me and my wife, we work together, right? And so we're like, not only do we have all the challenges of like, relationship stuff, but we have the challenges of business stuff too, and getting through that and cleaning up and all the things of like, and how do you be really, and this is one of the things we both have is been a challenge that I feel like we've had major breakthroughs recently is like, how do you be really, really focused in your business and what you're out to achieve and still be loving in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a challenge for me, because I just like, when I'm focused, I'm like pushing people out of the way. I'm like, get out of the way. I'm like, I'm on the way. Like, great, I'm on the way to go do this. And so that's been a huge challenge for us. And then I believe we're really kind of on the other side of that. So, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so date night is so important. We used to do where she'd come to the gym and we kind of chill in a hot tub because, we work for ourselves. So on Wednesdays she'd come, and then, I would do, my friend would show up and we'd do Fight Club. We'd bring boxing clubs and hit each other for a while and then go sit in the hot tub together and just hang out. But she didn't really enjoy the gym. So we're kind of looking at, we pretty much every night we do something, listen to an episode or watch an episode. We also do personal development together. We're going through an NLP certification. We bought some marketing courses and stuff that we are looking to go to the next level with our business. And so we do that together. And then when we do trips, we do personal development while we're on, doing that. So.
Mm-hmm. Nice, man. Great. I enjoy that very much. I appreciate it. So just a quick message in between for all my American friends. Us in Europe do not get to see Endgame or any other show as fast as you guys do. So stop sending messages and anything else about the show, because I'm waiting for it to come out in English so I can watch it. See, the problem is it came out here in Spain, but it's in Spanish and it's dubbed. And there's nothing worse watching a movie of your favorite heroes and then hearing them speak in a Spanish voice that's not even theirs. It's horrible. So thank you for not spoiling anything. I appreciate it. And that's how I don't know anything yet, because I can completely close myself off. I got my own strategies for that as well. Same with the Game of Thrones, by the way. So we're big fans of that as well. Man, I appreciate you sharing this. So one of my questions, and you already shared about that, is like, how is it like to have a business with your wife, right? Because I know that there's a lot that have tried it and failed, and then I've also seen some that are really flourishing. You guys, for example, seem to really have it down, and you just explained how you guys do that, so that's fantastic.
Actually, kind of a little bit more. One of the things you have to do is get really focused on what your roles are in the business, right? What's your genius zone? So my skill set is sales, marketing strategy, the process to bring people through a process to get them to want to buy something. That sales process, positioning, how to have the really powerful confidence so that you can, just go crush your business. believe, like that really that belief in yourself and that transformation there, because we do a combination of like of marketing strategy, tactic training, and then the transformation mindset stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Holly's skill set is putting together courses, really believing in like breathing life into people, really helping them really believe in themselves in a kind of a different way than I do it. And then like we used about 4 or 5 different modalities for like getting shit out of people's way, right? I don't know if I can swear on here, but I apologize if I can't. But yeah, so it's like those are the things, and then like putting the courses together, branding, the like psychology of sales, like she's really, really good at that stuff. And then she can do all the back end stuff. She doesn't love it, but because she's if you listen to her videos are just amazing, and she's just super engaging and really powerful out there. That's really where she shines, and somehow she can do the front end stuff and then also do all the back end stuff too, which as we grow we'll start hiring that. We're starting to fill that out and build a team to take care of that stuff, and so she can really just shine and be out there.
Yeah, because shining she does. I saw some videos, man. She's got some nice energy on the screen. So sounds like you found yourself an amazing business partner there. Great, man. Congrats. I love it. So tell me, you were just saying like one of your strengths is sales marketing strategy. What I'm always interested in, because as I mentioned to people, for me, Become a Fearless Father is all about being a dadpreneur and, having the freedom to decide when you work and when you don't, so you can spend this maximum time with your kids, right? So one of the questions that I've written down is what is your strategy in regards to like, how do you get your audience and how do you then work them through to become an engaged follower and then turn them into to a client?
Yeah, so we have something called the FYA funnel, and essentially the FYA funnel is speaking to people in 3 different messagings, where you have your cold, brand new, they have no clue who you are, and that is essentially solving a problem that they know they have, right? The challenge is most people are trying to convert and to a sale, like get somebody to buy right now that they're not ready to buy. They're not, they don't even know who the hell you are. They have no clue if you can actually help them. You haven't done anything for them, but they're trying to convert you. And then their marketing message is only join my coaching, right? And it's just terrible, right? And so you have to start down the road of like, maybe 60, 90 days of like, how do you solve a problem for somebody that they know they have, and then bring them through and then uncover in the process that they have a deeper problem that they don't even know they have yet, and that you have the solution for that problem. And then that's the warm messaging and the warm funnel that's really going to really overcome all their objections. And so we have something essentially called the FYA funnel, where essentially when they finally get on the phone with you or get a sales page or whatever, that they're just like, yes, I'm in, I'm ready to buy, boom, let's do this. And so the warm funnel just really overcomes all the objections. It really shows them that they have a deeper problem they don't even realize they have, and it overcomes all the objections that they have to working with you and really buying and all that stuff. And then you have the hot funnel, which basically is like a credibility machine. It makes you look like a boss. It shows off all the success that your clients have had. It shows off like all of this stuff, right? And then you have that in place where then they can go book a call, and then that sets up the positioning of you as a boss. And then when they get on the phone, they're like, I finally are on the phone with this guy or gal, like that. They're just so excited to be there with, like, wow, I've gone through this journey to finally get on the phone with you, and I'm just so excited. to finally get to meet you. And then they basically have no questions really besides like, when can we get started? That's the ideal outcome of the FEF funnel.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good, man. I appreciate you sharing that. Now, within your business, I saw on your profile, what you guys do is you help entrepreneurs as well to launch a course in 5 days, right? So can you share a little bit about this course? I think that's pretty interesting for struggling entrepreneurs that are still trying to figure out, how to do this and are very afraid, right? But most of us are very afraid because we think we need to have all kinds of technical knowledge as well, etc.
Yeah. So one of the things that people have a breakdown in is they try to make everything perfect before they even launch. And I tell the story. We had a client pay us a bunch of money to help him get started with his course. And so what we did was we walked him through, who is your perfect person? All right, now, what do you really want to do and speak, and what do you want in the course? And we helped him really kind of put that together. Then how can you go get the right messaging that's going to sell this course, and and be able to find out all of your perfect people's problems and all that stuff, so then you can use that in your marketing. So then when you get they see the sales video or the webinar or whatever, they're like, holy crap, he really knows me. And so and there's a whole process that we teach in doing that. That we, like I said, we have like you said, launch the course in 5 day challenge, which we want to start charging for. It's actually currently free. There's a couple of things that are for sale in the funnel, but right now it's actually free. We want to actually start charging for it and create a value ladder funnel from that. But as for right now, it's free. So, but anyway, so where was I going with that? Oh, so and then we worked on his value ladder and what so he could sell and blah blah. And then we were like, do you want our help to launch this into the world? And he's like, no, I think I got it, and I'll figure it out myself. And one of the things we told him was, you don't necessarily need to record your webinar. You don't have to record your course right now. Go sell your course, get some sales, and then do it with them. And that's the biggest thing that people have, the misconception that people have with launching their course. You do not need to record your course, and things don't have to be all perfect because literally, there's so many people out there that tell me, I spent 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, launching or putting together my course and recording all the modules and all this stuff. And then they go to record it or go to sell it, and nobody wants to buy it. You're not even what you're doing in the course isn't what they want. And the only way you really know is really putting it out there and selling it. And so 8 months later, after we had this, after he paid us and the whole deal, I got on and he's like, yeah, I'm finally ready to launch. Or no, he said, hey, would you check out my funnel? I got the course done. I'm about to start selling this whole thing. And it was terrible. It was so terrible. And I'm like, dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. Do you want, let's jump on the thing and we can see if we can figure something out to help you. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go run Facebook ads out at it and see. So I hit him up 2 months later after that, or a month later. I was like, how's it going? He's like, oh, I haven't really got enough data yet. I'm like, well, have you made any sales? No. How's the leads? I'm like, I bet it's going to convert. I told him this, I'm like, I bet the opt-in's going to be okay, but nobody's going to buy this, because it was like a weird value ladder in the funnel. And I think it was going straight to a $297 offer or something like that. That's bad. Because unless you're selling on a webinar, if you're going to have and then it dropped down to a $49 product, and that didn't make any sense, right? If you're going to start in a value ladder funnel like that, you want to start low and then work your way up. but he didn't listen anyway. So he still isn't in any sales, and he's still struggling, and he's just not willing to listen to anybody's help. And so, but yeah, that's the process that we teach in the Launcher course and 5-day challenge. It's really for people that ideal situation are some sort of expert. They have some sort of skill set. They're making things happen maybe in a consulting, coaching manner.
Mm-hmm.
Best case is if they're doing, like, our best client is somebody that's really rocking it like offline, and really just need help structuring their sales process and putting together their course. And because that's what we recommend, is to put together a course as your foundation, because you don't want to be in coaching is not teaching. I had a mentor. His events were freaking transformational, right? Transformational events, had the huge breakthroughs, sign up for his coaching, and it was terrible. It showed up on a conference line every week, and all he did was like just blabber on about like what he wanted to talk about with no like, there was no like a process. There was no like like adding up. It wasn't like adding up to anything. It wasn't creating like any sort of anything. And like maybe 5-10 minutes of us like asking us like what we got going on, and that was about it. And that's not coaching. That's not mentorship. That's like almost like you do a free conference line thing back in like the early 2000s before people had like video calls. I don't even know. But yeah. And so what we do is we teach people to have a course as their foundation, and then you coach around the course. So they do all the learning in the course, and then they have they do the coaching around it. And then you get out of and you get into the group model where you have multiple people. So, we charge multiple 4 figures for our coaching, but it's a group model. So I can sell 10 or 20 of those and, do 40, 50, 100K in a month. And it's not creating more time for me, right? It creates leverage, and it creates more possibility for us, and it creates more power in our business.
Exactly. Wow, sounds like a great system. and yeah, I absolutely agree in regards to the coaching. As you might know, as most of you that follow me, I just recently started my coaching. And I actually don't get to say much. I just ask questions and make sure that they find it out. And as you've noticed probably now as a dadpreneur, as I called it in the title, dadpreneur, the biggest challenge that we start getting is time management. And I love working with my clients on that. I mean, I love it. I mean, and I keep saying, man, I have one client, I think in a month, he's not going to be my client anymore. He's grown so fast. He's going to outgrow me. And that's, in the end, I'm sure that's your goal as well. That's what you're here for, right? And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you as well, because I know you're in the same circle in regards to people that we know and how we work. And we hear it more and more often, right? Grinding, hustling, impact over money, or money over impact. So I'm just wondering, man, what's your vision when it comes to, or what's your philosophy, your thoughts on impact versus money?
It's interesting. Actually, this is a good one. Okay, so I had a client that worked with us for a little bit. She wasn't able to do our full program because she didn't have the cash flow at the time last year. And but she got our kind of like introductory thing, and just through our sales process, learned so much with the confidence and overcoming things inside of her. So she was a health coach, and she helped salespeople and executives and overcome like anxiety and depression and stress and all that stuff through exercise and health and all that. Anyway, so she had a client actually in Spain offer her $100,000, or like I don't know if she was pitching him $100,000 program, guessing for the year or something, and there'd be some like one-on-one where he'd fly to her or whatever, and he was about to like offer or give her $100,000, but then he added this. He said, I'm so lonely. Can there be part of a kind of a relationship thing in our deal where we talk like that? And she like disqualified him. She's like, I'm out. Like, no, that I'm not going to do that. She passed away $100,000 deal. Like, when 8 months ago, she couldn't even afford our coaching. And what I find is people that will take money over like impact, that they're essentially what that deal would be. It's like they're a hooker, right? Like, essentially, if you're doing things that you don't feel good about for money, you're a prostitute.
Yeah, I'm not sure if every prostitute is going to agree with you, but I understand what you're saying.
That's the thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like a percentage of prostitutes that just really love their job. But I'm guessing that most of them are not doing it because they love it.
No, I understand the reference. I'm just kidding with you. No, that's a great reference and a good story, absolutely. And it's all a question of, but that's also impact plus also values, right? What are your values and how far are you willing to go? And we always used to, when I was in sales, my boss always used to say, like, how far do you want to drop your pants for your customer, right? And we always agreed that we would keep the pants on. So I absolutely understand where you're coming from. See, I love stories, man. I absolutely enjoy it. Let me check real quick. See, we're running close to time, so I appreciate that. I had another question. Where is it? Oh, yeah, there it is. So this is one of the things that I think everybody's struggling with, right? Especially with Facebook. And now Facebook is, becoming, it's very important, but at the same time, it's very addictive, right? So you get lost. And you just mentioned earlier as well that, when you're focused and everything goes away. And sometimes we just have to do things on Facebook and you just get drawn away from your focus, right? So I'm just wondering how do you go about using social media, which is important, right? It's beneficial without it turning into the trap, without it turning into a negative, right?
Yeah, totally. I get it. So it becomes what is your agenda? What is your SOP? What are you achieving now? Right? What are you out to accomplish at this moment right now? And there's the thing is you have to have, like, when you're on there, because so one of our biggest things is, and I think this is how do we get connected?
Because of mutual friends that all are using ClickFunnels.
Got it. So I post in groups. One of my lead gen strategies, I'll just straight up say, is like I go and post in groups about our podcast, because we have our podcast, and I'm looking for experts that want to be interviewed on our podcast. And yes, I need amazing people to be on our podcast to be interviewed. And sometimes people they're not quite ready. They're not making them, like, because our podcast is called Influencer Profits, right? And we're very integrous with the profit side, and it really helps if they're influencer expert type person that are making a big impact out there. And so some of those people aren't quite ready to be on our podcast, to be interviewed. And so now that I have an opportunity to turn that into a lead through our sales process. And so I'm essentially and then even the people that are making a difference, that are making money, they don't have their sales processes down. want to go to that next level. They want to have something the FEF funnel implemented in their business. They want a course. We just interviewed amazing couple. They're firewalker facilitators, speakers, and trainers, and they're mostly offline, and they're just crushing it, and doing really, really well, and awesome people. And we interviewed them on the podcast. And it's funny, the wife said it. She goes, because she loves sales processes too. And she's like, you have your funnel is awesome because you're giving us value by giving us exposure on your podcast, but we're your perfect client. Because I told her, I was like, and so now you're giving us a bunch of value, and then you're talking about what you guys do and the successes you've had with different clients and whatever. And then now you're attracting now we're interested in possibly working with you guys, and how can we do something together? And I'm like, I'm glad you caught on to my plan. And so it works out really brilliant in the sense of, like, some of the people are not ready and they're good for clients. Some of them are good to be on our podcast, and it could be clients. Some of them, they have their own sales process. They're already good to go. And we still interview them too because they're awesome, and we love good interviews. So to answer that it's just, you have to be really focused on. So I spend a lot of time in groups. So, but my intention is to be in that group and engage with those people at that time and not get caught up in my news feed. Don't get caught up in, like, what's going on in Game of Thrones or what's going on with the Avengers in that group over there. And like, and every time I find myself getting veered off, I have to course correct and bring myself back to, sometimes I walk away, go grab some water, use the restroom, whatever, then come back and get reset.
Exactly. That's great advice.
There's actually a really good Google Chrome extension that you can get. It's called, what the hell is it called? I forget what it's actually called, but just look at like a newsfeed killer. That's what it's called. It's called newsfeed killer. Excuse me. And what it does is it completely just gets rid of your newsfeed. So when you go to your Facebook thing, nothing shows up. Nice. And there's another one if you're into Facebook ads and you're like looking at Facebook ads and you're just like a nerd in that way. There's one that you can get all ads. And that's all you get is Facebook ads.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Facebook ads, that's all we can learn from to build our own Facebook ads, right? To see which ones are working really well.
Exactly.
One for only Facebook ads. Awesome. Great chat. Look, man, it's been an hour already. I really appreciate all of you shared. I've learned tons, and I still got tons of questions. So I'm sure the people that are watching this or listening to the recording, watching the recording, have more questions as well. How can they stay in contact with you? How can they ask some questions? How can they follow you?
Yeah, so if you're watching on Facebook, I think I'm tagged in this post, so you can just friend request me, send me a message, because I don't accept friend requests really, unless you're like my perfect. I'll look at your profile, and if you don't look like my perfect client, I don't accept you. So send me a message. Just send me a message. It's going to be the easiest way. But if you really want to learn how to attract your perfect client, to create the FEF funnel, to be able to overcome these objections, you can go to chadandholly.com and grab our book. And then actually, if you go to my profile, you can go to the thing and get the Launch Your Course in 5-day challenge too. So.
Exactly. Awesome. I'll make sure that the links get shared in the replay as well for everybody. Chad, again, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. Your openness is very great to learn from, and your humility as well. I love the way you started it, so I think that's great. I think that shows true greatness, and there is no limit. And once you think like that, there's no limit for your growth. So I wish you the best of luck with all your projects. And as a stepdad, of course, everybody else has been on for an hour with us. Thank you. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed it and got just as much value out of this as I did. And we will see each other pretty soon. I got some amazing other guests coming on. very, very soon that I am not going to say yet who they are. All right, people. Thank you. And we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident? Spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams. You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. I'm looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.